Hi again, this is Carol King, the developer of Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS. In this video, I am going to discuss what about payments made by credit card to various vendors. Should you send them a 1099 or not? And we will discuss that a little bit. So I clicked Vendor 1099s and went to the Vendor 1099s window. First of all, let's take a moment to discuss what the IRS says about sending 1099s if you paid your subcontractor with a credit card, basically. So I'm going to click this link, that's the 2020 instructions, and I'm going to export this out to my Adobe Acrobat Reader so that I can do a search better. So I did that with the download button there, and then I want to do a search, and I'm going to type in credit card to see what I can find. So this one is not the one I want. Let's go to the next one that we can find. And here's what I found. Payments made with a credit card or payment card and certain other types of payments, including third-party network transactions, must be reported on Form 1099-K by the payment settlement entity, and that's important. I'll talk about that in a second. Under section whatever, and are not subject to reporting on Form 1099 NEC. What this means, are not subject to reporting, as I've read things from various experts. That doesn't mean that you get in trouble if you do report them. It just means they're not subject, and I'll show you an opinion about that here in just a minute. But also, this thing about the 1099-K, don't let that confuse you. That's not you that's supposed to do one of those. That's if, say, Joe the plumber is a credit card merchant and takes payments from American Express or PayPal or whatever it is, American Express or PayPal or something will send him a 1099 about how much was paid. And that's what they're saying. They'll send him a 1099-K. So, for example, I get a 1099-K because most of the payments I receive from you all are through PayPal, and I get a 1099-K about all of that, so you don't really have to be sending me a 1099 if you don't want to, but you can, and you don't get in trouble for that. So actually what it boils down to is that it's your choice, and that you need to have a good discussion with your tax accountant or your outside accountant about whether you should include payments paid by credit card on your 1099s or not. We cannot express an opinion about that for you. We're not people that are interpreting tax law for you, but I can give you some tools to help you out if you decide not to include those credit card payments. Now, the other thing here that I give you is some information. What about records paid by credit card? So first of all, I quote that from the IRS. I tell you to discuss this with your tax accountants, that CHS does not have an opinion. Please do your own research. I do tell you how CHS can help. If you decide you do not want to include records that have been paid by credit cards, select a year, and that's over here, select a year. Then click the button labeled Update 1099 Status, which is this button over here to the left. Then use the search button on the window that opens to do a search for ones marked as NEC 1099 or rents. And then on that same search window, select Paid by Credit Card so that you can find the records paid by credit card that you have marked for them to get a 1099. So I'll demonstrate that now here. But also, here's the thing about click to go to this article, which has a quote in it right here. It will take you to this, and if you scroll down, you'll find this. Should you send 1099, and this was written in an earlier year than 2020, so you could probably substitute 1099 NEC in their verbiage. This is some expert about tax and 1099s. If in doubt, it doesn't hurt to send 1099 forms to the business or independent contractors you paid $600 or more last year, even if you sent the payment via PayPal or used a credit card. This is a general consensus among accountants and tax professionals. Here's why. There are penalties for failing to send out 1099 forms, but there's no penalty for sending 1099 forms if they turn out not to be required. And that person, Weltman, whoever they talked to, confirmed that some businesses choose to send 1099s anyway. Businesses are allowed to issue 1099s regardless of the way they make payment. They just aren't required to send a 1099, basically if paid by credit card. And then it does talk about, you might want to look at it for payees. Will 1099-K and 1099 miscellaneous mean double reporting of income? And you should probably read that. go back here. That's this link. Click to go to this article, and there's the quote I just read to you in this help thing. So let's click OK. I selected the year 2018 because I know I happen to have a couple of them that match the criteria. And here's where you can change the 1099 status. You know, 1099s are based on the records that you paid, not on the status you set for the vendor. When you set a 1099 status for a vendor, it just means that's the default to drop into a record. So we have all these. We have 61 records, and these all look fine. But if you look here you can see that this check number CC means this was paid by credit card. There's a good way to search for those. Do the search button. We're interested in our NEC 1099s right now. And then do paid by credit card, and then do a search. So there's the one I was pointing to. So I found two of them. The reason I need you to do these one at a time, and I will not be programming anything to do a blanket update of these, is I need for there to be an audit record that you changed it from NEC 1099 to none, so that if somebody calls me up and says the 1099 is wrong, it didn't include this amount, I could look at the audit and say, well, you changed it to none. And I might say, did you change it to none because it was paid by a credit card? You know, but I need that record, so I won't program any blanket update of all things paid by credit card being sent to none. For one thing, maybe you marked something as paid by credit card, but it wasn't really, and then you changed it back and stuff. I really don't want to be involved in doing a bunch of programming trying to detect that and setting it to none. Plus, because you might decide to go ahead and send 1099s for records that have been paid by a credit card. So I do give you this screen to help you out, so I could quickly set this to none. And I could set this to none. So these two went to none, and they will not then be, these two records will not be part of the 1099 total. And if I look at vendor bills audit, you can see changed 1099 by Carol King. And I would like to have that record for if somebody calls me up and says, why isn't this amount? My total ledger shows I paid him $2,000, but the 1099 only says, you know, $1,800 or something like that. And I can say, well, let's look at that record in the audit table and see what's happened and why. I have to have that kind of stuff, being a software developer, it turns out. So hopefully that helps you with a tool to use if you decide not to include records paid by credit card. But again, I will emphasize CHS does not have an opinion about this. We are not your tax accountant or legal experts that can advise you in that way, but we can certainly give you tools to help you out based on your decisions as advised by your tax accountant. Thank you for watching.